today's City Council meeting. We're happy to have you joining us, whether you are online or in person. Thank you for your patience as we continue tracking COVID cases and trying to make the best decisions to keep people safe. We encourage you to continue joining us in whichever manner you feel most comfortable. If you are here in person, we encourage you to wear a mask in the building, although it is not required. Disposable masks are available outside the meeting door, or you can raise your hand and staff will bring one to you if you'd like. If you're here to give public comment, feel free to remove your mask once you get called to address the council from the podium. We encourage you to continue joining us in whichever manner you feel most comfortable. Oh, little duplicate there on the, no problem. Thanks for participating today. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll all join me. Okay. Let's see. If you would like to give a public comment today and you're not joining us in person, we are accepting comments online via WebEx or via telephone if you'd like to call in. Before we begin moving through the agenda, I want to mention and review our rules of decorum. The City Council has always had guidelines in place to ensure our meetings are orderly, civil, and efficient. The guidelines help everyone feel comfortable sharing their comments without feeling intimidated. To achieve this, our rules of decorum take effect the moment you arrive. We respect all points of views and welcome new insights. Please be respectful while sharing your comments. Avoid yelling, using profanity, making racial slurs, or obscene or defamatory remarks. If you violate this rule, we will mute your line or ask you to stop. If you feel the need to use such language to express your opinion, you may email council members or leave a message on our 24-hour comment line. Additionally, our staff will request your name during the WebEx registration process. To limit disruption, your name cannot include a message or violate our rules of decorum. If your name doesn't comply, our staff will let you know. For those joining on WebEx, please watch your chat window in case we try to reach you. Scott Corpany from our staff will moderate our WebEx and will message you with any questions about your registration. Staff is handling many tasks during this meeting, so please limit messages to technical issues and minimal information updates. If you would like to send a comment to the council, please feel free to mail us at P.O. Box 145476, Salt Lake City, Utah 84114-5476. Or you can email us at council.comments@slcgov.com, or you can call us at 801-535-7654. We are now at agenda item A4. The council will approve work session meeting minutes of May 13th, 2021, October 12th, 2021, October 19th, 2021, June 9th, 2022, and June 14th, 2022, as well as the formal meeting minutes of June 15th, 2021, July 13th, 2021, October 19th, 2021, and August 9th, 2022. I could feel you about ready to...
I was going to wait for you to be done.
well, yes, so I'm ready.
Move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Mono, a second from Councilmember Fowler. Any discussion? Seeing none.
What minutes again?
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to say that was a joke. I will not be reading the dates again. So we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
Pui.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
And Petro Eschler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That's 6 yeses with 1 absent. Okay. Part B of our agenda is public hearings. Taylor Hill on our staff will be calling the names of those who wish to comment. We will call names of people on WebEx and in person based on the order of registration or received comment cards. Once we open the public comment, Taylor will announce 3 names at a time so people can have some notice to prepare to speak. When it's your turn to speak, Taylor will announce your name. If you are on WebEx, your line will unmute and you may begin. If you're here in person, please step up to the podium to make your comment once Taylor announces your name. Excuse me. To begin, please state your name, and then the 2-minute timer will start. At the 2-minute mark, staff will announce time. If you're unable to finish your comment, please send the rest via email, mail, or call our office. Our contact information is available in the meeting room and in the WebEx chat. If you no longer wish to speak, please either message our staff, or when staff states your name, just let us know that you're here to listen. Our first public comment item is B1, which is regarding an ordinance for a rezone at 1330 South, 700 West. Before we take comments on this, I'll turn the time over to Brian Fulmer, Council Staff Policy Analyst, to give us a short introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This proposal would amend the zoning map for property at 1330 South, 700 West from R1 7000, which is single-family residential, to CB, or community business, and potentially construct a neighborhood-scale mixed-use or multifamily building, though no formal site plan has been submitted today. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Taylor, will you please start our first public comment?
Thank you, Council Chair. It looks like there is no one registered to speak to this item.
Okay, anybody in the audience here to speak to this? Oh, you're to speak to this specific item or just general public comment? Oh, okay, please, come on down. Right there, actually, that podium. Yep.
So just quickly, my wife and I own this property over the said location, 1300 South and 700 West. So we're just requesting an amendment to the zoning to change it to CB with the overlay already in place there. We've owned this property for the past 4 years or so, and we're trying to develop it right now. It has just one house over there. It's an old house, and we want to do something more over there. Kind of like making sure that it goes with the city planning as well. It's between residential and industrial over there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay. I move that the council close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui, a second from Councilmember Fowler. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, we will go ahead and roll call. Councilmember Fowler? Yes. Pui?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Petro Eschler?
Yes.
And Councilmember Valdemoros, who's joining us remotely.
Yes, thank you.
And I'm a yes as well. That is unanimous. We'll move on to item number 2. This is a resolution for the Salt Lake City International Airport Master Plan. Before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to Sam Owen, Council Staff Policy Analyst, to give us a short intro. Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Federal Aviation Administration describes an airport master plan as a comprehensive study of an airport, usually describing the short, medium, and long-term development plans of that facility to meet future aviation demand. The proposed plan update includes an inventory of existing conditions at the International Airport, an aviation forecast for the next 20 to 30 years, and then facility requirements to meet the demand of those aviation forecasts, as well as an alternatives analysis and recommendations for facility upgrades and capital expansions to meet forecasted aviation needs over that span of time, again, about 20 to 30 years. The airport reports extensive public engagement over development of the plan proposal, including public board updates, public stakeholder meetings, and virtual outreach. Constituents and airport customers report concerns with the airport as it currently exists at an intermediate stage before all of the new facilities underway are complete. These issues include accessibility and mobility complications with traveling long distances aboard flights, as well as parking and transit concerns for customers and employees of the airport and its concessionaires. Furthermore, proposed capital repurposing of existing open space at the airport has been noted by council members as a concern of the proposed master plan and its land use elements. The Salt Lake International Airport serves a federally designated area stretching from southern Idaho to central Utah. The present public hearing is an opportunity for the council to receive feedback about the conditions and future of this landmark facility. The Salt Lake City Airport system also includes facilities in Tooele and West Jordan. The master plan process for those aviation facilities is underway, but separate from the current proposal. The timeline for council action on this item is undetermined at present. This is the first formal public hearing by the city council on the proposal, and the council has heard the item once during its work session in August, and expects to hear it again later this year, perhaps as soon as October. The master plan is an extensive document and is available as part of the packet material to this item on the council's agenda website, as well as its previous posting in August. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sam. Now, if that didn't seem like a very short intro, it's only because you haven't seen the airport master plan, which is about as thick as this table. So, do we have any public comments on this item?
It looks like there is one person here to speak to this item. That will be George Chapman. George, you are unmuted.
Okay, the airport master plan does not adequately address ADA requirements for airports. In fact, it actually ignores ADA requirements in the Bill of Rights. It's a right, according to that list of rights, it's a right to have an accessible airport facilities and a right to assistance at airports and the right to resolution of a disability-related issue. But you don't do that. You don't have deplaning, airplaning assistance, which should include wheelchairs and accessible, quote, accessible motorized carts. But the airport doesn't pay contractors enough to provide them. They're lucky to have one or two, and they don't even get to reserve them. So there's a problem with assistance there. Even though airlines are responsible for wheelchair service, they don't provide it because the airport isn't really pushing it. And that's a problem. And the airport still has enough money for advertising, but not enough money for assistance. So I think this is a problem that needs to be addressed and is ignored in the plan. And I'm against the tracks expansion at the airport until airport passenger fees are allowed to pay for it. Delta is stopping it. Utah legislature passed a bill stopping it. And parking and TMC, Uber, Lyft, and taxis are not adequately providing service and deserve more attention. I don't like the airport master plan. I think it is in process and it needs a lot of changes. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, George. Any other comments on this item?
That was the only commenter for this item.
Okay, thank you. Then I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council continue the public hearing to October 18th, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan and a second from Councilmember Fowler. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
Bowie.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Petra Eschler.
Yes.
And Councilmember Valdemoros.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Any other, sorry. So yes, that's unanimous. Anyone else want to vote? Okay, great. Well, that was your chance. You didn't take it. I don't know. Okay, we'll go ahead and go to item number 3. A resolution on sales tax revenue bonds, or bond.
I'll give a short intro, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, appreciate it.
On August 16th, the council authorized a $67.5 million sales tax revenue bond. The funding would be used for 10 priority projects. They're listed in the agenda language for reference. The public hearing today satisfies a state law requirement before the city can proceed with issuing the bonds. Note that the total authorized bond funding is slightly greater than the individual total of the 10 projects. This is because the authorized total includes the cost of issuing the bonds. The council has a webpage for the public to learn more about the sales tax bond and the Parks and Public Lands proposed bond. It is available at tinyurl.com/SLC bonds.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any public comments on this item?
There is one person registered to speak to this item. That is George Chapman. George, you are unmuted.
Hi, again. Well, no. Does the term nickel and diming mean anything to you? This is going to go down in history as the year of the tax increase. Not only a property tax increase, a library tax increase, a water, sewer, and a whole bunch of other fee increases, but you're also going to do a sales tax revenue bond, and you're also going to do a GO bond on the ballot. I mean, what a year this is going to be. I mean, the year of tax increases. So no, I don't agree with this, and I hope you turn it down. I know you won't, but okay, so we're going to go down in history as the year of tax increases in Salt Lake City. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, George. Anyone else want to speak to this issue? Then I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the council close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui, a second from Councilmember Dugan. Any discussion? We'll go ahead and roll call. Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
Pui?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Petro Eschler?
Yes.
Valdemoros?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That brings us to item number 4, which is an ordinance amending the budget, budget amendment number 1 for fiscal year 2022-2023. And before taking the comments, I'll turn the time over to Ben to give us another introduction. Thank you.
There are 19 individual items in budget amendment number 1. They have a total expenditure of over $17 million. Some items include over $3 million of transportation impact fees to cover cost increases for several projects around the city, slightly over $1 million to implement the council's CIP funding decisions. This is adding additional funding to what was in the annual budget, as well as the State Homeless Shelter Cities Mitigation Grant. It's $2.75 million to hire 13 new employees, 12 of which are police officers, among other items. Note that the council approved 2 items on August 16th and then added 2 new items. The updated staff report and the administration's transmittal are in today's meeting packet, and the council's budget webpage is tinyurl.com/SLCFY23. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Any commenters for this item?
There is one person registered to speak to this item, and that will be George Chapman. George, you are unmuted.
Okay, the $2.7 million grant that was just approved needs 12 officers now, 13 officers now, not in a year, now. Building security isn't important, but the Gail Miller Resource Center needs it more, so why don't you move the building security item to the Gail Miller Resource Center? And I remind you that Mill Creek had just 1 police complaint with their shelter last year, and they will provide police around the new overflow shelter, while Salt Lake City has several criminal complaints around the shelters each night. and most are not reported since the city doesn't seem to allow walking police patrols. Again, unlike Mill Creek, which will be using state money specifically to include additional police presence in nearby neighborhoods. So why isn't Salt Lake City doing the same? And why isn't Mayor Mendenhall reporting the increase in beds at the shelters since Salt Lake County mayors are agreeing to it? They've already sent the letter. So why is Salt Lake City going to not provide more cops for a year from the grant, that it will also allow adding more beds to the overcrowded shelters? It doesn't make sense. And I remind you, homeless are victimized first, even more by the drugs and criminal activities of those staying in and around the shelters. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, George. Anyone else? Then I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2023 final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document only for items as shown on the motion sheet.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Fowler?
Yes.
Hui?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Petro Eschler?
Yes.
Valdemoros?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. Okay, we have no potential action items scheduled, so that brings us to the public comment section of our agenda. Oh, excuse me, first questions from the council to the mayor. Mayor, thank you for being here with us tonight. Anyone have any questions for the mayor? Oh. I think that was unrelated. All right. Again, thank you for being here, and thanks for being here for our work session too. Okay, we're now at general public comment. So Taylor, how many commenters do we have?
It looks like there are 3 people here to speak to this item. First will be Malin Mensch, followed by George Chapman, and then Kesia Kinavea. Malin, you are unmuted.
My name is Malin Mensch. Under recently passed House Bill 443, the city and the inland port must agree on the measures the port will take to protect the environment and public health. The port insists it will be sustainable, promising, for example, it will use only electric freight handling equipment. That promise belongs in the contract with the city, but sustainability requires more. Buildings that the port owns or finances must be clean, getting all of their power, electric, heating, and cooling from renewables. The flood of freight the port hopes to attract must be moved by trucks and locomotives that are as clean as the technology allows. Those who live in LA's diesel death zone can tell you that a booming freight business is both a blessing and a curse. It generates jobs and taxes, but also tons of pollution, mostly nitrogen oxides and fine soot. The latter are dagger-shaped particles so small they pass through the lungs and into the bloodstream, damaging all major organ systems and shortening lives. Fed up with pollution at their ports, Californians are taking effective action. In 2010, the EPA ordered makers of diesel semis to incorporate SCR technology and fine soot filters, which remarkably reduce nitrogen oxides by 80% and fine soot by 95%. But you will still gag if you were stuck behind any diesel semi made before 2010. By the end of this year, California ports will not allow high polluting diesels, those made before 2010, to access their ports. Sustainability requires that our inland port do the same. Section 203 of House Bill 443 allows the port to make low emissions a requirement for trucks and locomotives accessing the port. When negotiating your contract with the city,
Next, we'll hear from George Chapman, followed by Christina Navesa. George, you're now unmuted.
Okay, thanks for your time and for listening. Amy, you're right, the 900 East rocks are not just non-compliant, because despite the little plants, they are incredibly unsafe, especially for kids. Don't worry about kids falling off bunk beds. Worry about kids falling on the 900 East rocks. And please remove the bushes along the Jordan River. Trees are much more appropriate, and the city shouldn't be encouraging and enabling criminal activities along the Jordan River Trail. Why care about the Jordan River Trail if you actually hide the river with bushes that encourage and enable camping, drug use, prostitution, and other criminal activities while encouraging kids to go there? Take out those bushes. I know you care, so please cut out the bushes. And I know a bunch of workers that were really good at cutting plants that were, we didn't want them to do when they were cutting them out of Miller Park. So turn them loose on the Jordan River and keep them apart. Oh, and return the ADA Miller Park CIP money, please, so mobility challenged people can access Miller Park. And did Salt Lake City get the inland port to allow the west side to remove the rail lines? And finally, this city should push UTA to buy new Tier 4 front-runner locomotives, since they will be one of the biggest polluters running through our neighborhoods every 7.5 minutes. Thanks for listening.
And next we will hear from Christina Niavesa. Christina, you are now unmuted.
Hi, my name is Ksenia Knazova. Great job trying. I apologize. My name is a mess. I'm the executive director of the Nomad Alliance, a nonprofit helping the unsheltered, the chronically unsheltered on the streets of Salt Lake. I am here to ask the council yet again to please change the zoning ordinances and allow for a sanctioned campground in Salt Lake City. Many of you have heard about the death of Moan, who was a woman that started out as a client. She lived in our $300 micro house for 6 months. She had kept a job, she was stable, she was clean, and she was only back on the streets because of instability in housing for a day and a half when this happened, when she was when her death was ruled a homicide by the police recently by the medical examiner. I'd like to invite the entire council to stand and dance for MJ on Sunday at 3 p.m. at the Utah State Capitol. And as far as the 12 new police officers, the budget amendment to hire 12 new police officers for the homeless shelters, I really ask you guys to please consider hiring crisis intervention team officers in conjunction with these police officers. This happened not because she was on meth, but because she was having a mental health crisis, a manic episode. She was working so hard. For 10 months she was housed, and she was pet sitting. A woman threw her stuff out in the middle of the night. She didn't have a contract, and she had to go back on the streets, and she just broke. I wish that, I've heard that you guys have a crisis intervention team with the Salt Lake Police Department that is, that attends whenever there is a crisis in a home, but why is a tent any different? Why are we brutalizing people under the guise of addicts or the homeless or thieves or whatever rather than human beings? Thank you.
And that was the last registered comment.
Okay, thank you to everyone who commented. Any comments from anyone in the audience? No? Okay. I'll look for, sorry, I won't look for a motion because we'll just move on to the next part of the agenda, new business. We have one new business item, which is E1, regarding a resolution, the general obligation bond for parks, trails, and open space.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the council adopt the resolution providing for the conduct of the November 8th, 2022 special bond election.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan and a second from Councilmember Pui. Any discussion to this? Then we'll go ahead and vote. Councilmember Fowler?
Yes.
Pui?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Petra Eschler?
Yes.
And Valdemoros?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That is unanimous. We're now at the unfinished business portion of the agenda. Item F1 is regarding a resolution for the creation of Outdoor Business Activity Grants Program. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the council adopt a resolution creating the Outdoor Business Activity Grant Program and guidelines as shown in Exhibit A.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui and a second from Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Councilmember Fowler?
Yes.
Councilmember Pui?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Petro Eschler?
Yes.
Valdemoros?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That passes unanimously. We are now at item F2, which is an ordinance for the Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund to Kahlo Clinical Research. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council adopt an ordinance approving a $262,963.61 loan for Kahlo Clinical Research from the Economic Development Loan Fund.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan and a second from Councilmember Mono. Any discussion? Then I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Fowler?
Yes.
Pui?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Petro Eschler?
Yes.
Valdemoros?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That passes unanimously. We are now at the last portion of our agenda, the consent portion.
Council Chair.
No.
Excuse me.
No, we're not. No, we're not. I'm sorry. We're at item number 3, an ordinance amending the consolidated fee schedule.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the council adopt an ordinance amending the consolidated fee schedule as shown in Exhibit A.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Dugan. Any discussion to this? Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote. Councilmember Fowler?
Yes.
Pui?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Petro Eschler?
Yes.
And Valdemoros?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That is unanimous. We are now at the consent portion of the agenda. It's our last item of business. Before we adopt the consent portion of the agenda, I'll ask for a motion to include removing item G11, board appointment for Annie Barton to the Police Civilian Review Board, as her appointment has been withdrawn.
Mr. Chair, so moved with the inclusion that we remove item G11, the board appointment for Annie Barton to the Police Civilian Review Board.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Pui. Any discussion? Let's vote. Councilmember Fowler?
Yes.
Pui?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Petro Eschler?
Yes.
Valdemoros?
Yes.
I am a yes as well. That is unanimous on the consent agenda. That concludes our formal meeting, and we are adjourned. Thank you.